Jesus said, I am the resurrection and I am life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, yet shall they live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I hold the keys of hell and death. Because I live, you shall live also. Friends, we have gathered here this afternoon to praise God and to witness to our faith as we celebrate the life of Mabel Kitsuse. He was a child of God whom family and friends have described as kind, gracious, and with a good sense of humor. We come together in grief, acknowledging our human loss. May God grant us grace, that in pain we may find comfort, in sorrow, hope, in death, resurrection. And now, if you feel comfortable doing so, please stand and let us sing together, Love Divine, Our Loves Excelling. It was a hymn that Mabel knew well. Please be seated. Let us pray. Eternal God, we praise you for the great company of all those who have finished their course in faith and now rest from their labor. We praise you for those dear to us whom we name in our hearts before you. Especially we praise you for Mabel Kitsuse, whom you have graciously received into your presence. To all of these, grant your peace. Let perpetual light shine upon them, and help us so to believe what we have not seen, that your presence may lead us through our years and bring us at last with them into the joy of your home, not made with hands, but eternal in the heavens. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. First reading is from the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And the second reading is from John chapter 14. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. The word of the Lord. On behalf of the West Los Angeles United Methodist Church, I wish to express condolences to the Kitsuse family following Mabel's passing. Mabel was an active member of this church for a good many years. He was well remembered and appreciated, and still has friends here despite her long life. Your loss has been our loss, and your grief our grief. God blessed Mabel with many gifts. She had an artistic talent. She was good at making things. She was what we in the church call a crafty person. She made miniature Christmas trees to sell at our church bazaar. At University High School, where she worked for 30 years, she frequently made gifts for her staff. God also gave Mabel a talent for cooking. At church, she helped make sushi at our bazaar. At home, she could make anything in the microwave. Her family called her the microwave queen. They said Mabel was a fantastic cook. In addition, Mabel was a gifted leader. At University High, she was the secretary to the principal. This position also placed her in charge of the clerks. Like her boss, who was a retired Marine, Mabel treated those under her in a firm and fair manner. God imbued Mabel with strong personal qualities as well. People have described her as kind, generous, and caring. Her grandchildren cannot recall a time when she got mad. Roswanda said Mabel brought meals to her parents when they were ill. In her personal demeanor, Mabel was a reflection of Christ. Mabel enjoyed the life God gave to her. When she moved to Banning to retire, she made new friends, played cards, golf, tennis, and bocce ball. Her home was right on the golf course. Whenever she could, she made it back to the church. The church had been her social life for the major part of her life. She had many friends here. She was active in Circle 2, one of the women's groups. She made crafts for the bazaar and boutique. Whenever there was a potluck, Mabel always was in the kitchen, cleaning. Now that Mabel has completed her course, she enters into her heavenly rest. Her sight has been restored, and she is reunited with her loved ones who preceded her. She will be in heaven as she was on earth, fun, sociable, respectful of others, never too loud, and never too bright. All will surround her as the new arrival, and together they will celebrate a life well done. Amen. Now, if you will please remain seated, let us sing together a hymn that the family has requested, Amazing Grace. Well, now we will have persons who knew Mabel well speak to her personal history. I would like to invite them to come up one at a time. Following Mrs. Helen Horry's talk, we will have an open microphone. And at that time, if anyone would like to say a brief word of remembrance or a word of thanks for Mabel, you would be welcome to do so at that time.
I thought I was going to be able to speak down there. Thank you, Reverend Oba. He kind of stole my speech. He covered a lot of the things about Auntie Mabel that I've included here, so I hope you'll bear with me with the repetition. But today, I'm so thankful to you for coming to celebrate the life of a lady who was short in stature, but hugely generous, so very kind, and amazingly strong. Mabel Etsuko Shikami Kitsuse was born on October 8, 1919, to Senkichi, who is also known as Joe, and Sumiya Jenny Shikami, the first of 7 children. She attended McKinley Elementary, Lincoln Junior High, Santa Monica High School, and Santa Monica Community College. Like other families of Japanese ancestry on the West Coast, she and her family were sent to camp, in their case, Manzanar. She left Manzanar after a short while for Fort Riley, Kansas. She and Paul Kitsuse had decided to marry, and Paul was stationed at Fort Riley. I remember Auntie Mabel sharing with me how she encountered overt discrimination as she took that train ride from California to Kansas. Signs were posted, "No Jacks here." But she was a strong, resilient woman, far from her family and home, but determined to be with Paul. They married in September of 1943. She found a place to live near the base as a live-in housekeeper for Colonel and Mrs. Morris. After Paul was shipped out to fight in Europe, she left Kansas for Cincinnati to live with her sisters, Ruth and Florence, whose husbands were also fighting in Europe. In the fall of that year, Florence got notice that her husband had been injured. A few days later, Ruth was also informed that her husband had been wounded. Then, Auntie Mabel heard about Paul. He was killed in action in the European theater in November of 1944. When she learned that Paul was killed, Auntie Mabel was devastated. I came across a letter that she had written to my mother and father soon after learning about Paul's death. She was almost inconsolable. But she said that having little Sue was the only thing that made Paul's life bearable. After Paul, the 3 sisters left for Chicago to live with their sister Helen and her husband Mike Horry. Helen found a big Victorian house, and soon every room was filled with the sisters and their husbands, their babies, Grandma and Grandpa Shikami, Shikami brothers, and even Uncle Jim. That's what Helen said. You must talk with Helen and learn about this boarding house that she was running in Chicago for the family. Mabel married Paul's older brother, James Kitsuse, while in Chicago, and they soon moved back to Los Angeles to live in the Kitsuse home on Corinth with Grandma Sue, Grandpa Ken, my parents, and my brother. I forgot to mention that while in Manzanar, Auntie Mabel worked as a nurse's assistant, and for this I'm forever grateful. because she's the one who became my mother's midwife when I was born. You can say that I've been lucky to have known Auntie Mabel my entire life. But poor Sue, she had to share everything with me, my brother, and sister her entire life. Auntie Mabel worked for a few years at Santa Monica High School's textbooks room and then moved to University High as a clerk, moving on up to be head secretary to the principal. I remember her always being dressed very smartly with high heels that Sue and I used to play dress up with. And she had painted fingernails. I thought that was revolutionary. Anyway, she was a woman way ahead of her time. I remember her drinking tiger's milk, and who knows what tiger's milk is? Maybe it was soy milk. And eating yogurt and even grinding her own coffee, everything that we all do nowadays. This was all in the 1950s. She was a fantastic cook. In fact, when we didn't want to eat dinner, we'd call up Auntie Mabel and said, "What's for dinner?" Because she'd always say, "Why? You want to come over?" And we did. I remember the bowling trophies in their den and the poker games in the kitchen, tasty dinners and baked cookies. Sue and Stan Quano married in 1965 and gave Auntie Mabel her first granddaughter, Jill, in 1966. 4 years later, a grandson, John, joined the family, and Auntie Mabel and Uncle Jim's lives revolved around their grandchildren. She and Jim moved to a house on Colby, and I remember delicious dinners and holidays filled with seeds candies, bingo games, and kudi manju. In 1972, she experienced another great loss when Jim passed away suddenly. Through these personal tragedies, Auntie Mabel remained strong and positive, and never was one to complain about the bad hand that she had been dealt, although she would complain occasionally about a bad poker hand or a bad pinochle hand. She was blessed with a great-grandson, Johnny, in 2002, and she would always have an extra big smile for him and send him home with candy or homemade cookies. She was always baking or making some creative craft item and giving away these goodies to family and friends. I asked Sue to provide some thoughts about her mom, and I'll share a few with you. Quote, "I remember her always doing some kind of craft, making Christmas trees with little lights on them, and I still have one that works. I remember her famous scrubbies. And this was passed on genetically to Sue because she makes fantastic scrubbies too. And also her crocheting and her knitting. And believe it or not, I still have a sweater that Auntie Mabel made for me in college." Sue continues, she was a great cook and hostess and loved to have everyone over and cook for everyone. She was kind, generous, and a joy to be around. Ironically, I think Auntie Mabel would say the same things about Sue. Those traits seem to be genetic, since Sue possesses them too. She was an incredibly devoted daughter, especially in these last years of Auntie Mabel's life. I could go on about how special Auntie Mabel has been to me and my family, but I promise Sue I'd keep it short. Thank you.
I'll be reading some thoughts that were written by Aya Sase about her friend Mabel. It was over 50 years ago that I first met Mabel. She was the president of Circle 2 when I joined the UMW. It was called the WSCS back then. I looked up to Mabel. She was kind And since I was new to the church and the women's group, I was so grateful because she made me feel welcomed. I looked up to her and marveled at how she could organize and bring women together in such a very nice way. Everyone liked working with Mabel, and she seemed comfortable with people looking to her for direction, especially when she was teaching us how to make different things, like the kuri manju and even sushi. She was able to work with the young women and with the Issei women, and as far as I could see, she did this effortlessly. Mabel also organized and taught us how to do craft projects. I remember making small Christmas trees with lights. I take out my little lighted Christmas tree every year, and every year when I turn on the lights, I think of Mabel and remember her patiently teaching us how to make those little trees. In 1968, I went to University High School to work as a clerk typist. Mabel was the head secretary, the school secretary. She worked in the main office. She was well liked by principals, teachers, counselors, and the students. But the clerks in the offices loved her. They would do anything for her. Because it was Mabel, we always did our best to work together, even if it meant staying a few minutes over to finish projects. We had a wonderful group of ladies happy to work together because Mabel was leading us and because she was so nice. Our friendship went beyond the women's group at church and working together at University High School. I remember going with Joe and Mabel to the theater. For years, we were subscription ticket holders at the Pantages Theater and East West Theater. Mabel loved to drive, and she was also very generous. For many years, she took the time to pick me up and bring me home on her way to and from work. When I told her that Joe was working and could not drive Pam to UC Davis, Mabel offered to help me drive up Interstate 5 to take Pam to school. She knew she would have to drive all the way back to Los Angeles. I did not drive the freeways, well, certainly not an 8-hour drive on I-5. With Pam's orange bicycle strapped to the back of the car, we took off up I-5. When the CHP officers stopped the car for speeding, we were shaken up by being stopped, but Mabel kept such a nice attitude, and with her sweet smile, she signed the ticket and got back on the road without complaining. It was so typical of her to keep a positive attitude. After Mabel moved into Holiday Villa, Akiyagi and I would visit and bring her sushi, manju, or onishime vegetables. She seemed to enjoy these foods, and we enjoyed her company. Dear Mabel, I will miss you.
Well, here I am. I'm Mabel's sister. She's the chatterbox in the family, and I'm the quiet one. I was asked to say a few words about Mabel, the time that she spent with us in Banning, and so here I am. I have to make notes because I don't chatter too much. Mabel did the chattering, as you know, and I have to just read this from these notes. So here, my husband Mike and I moved there in 1988, and Mabel moved there the following year. This is Sun Lakes Country Club in Banning, and everyone says, Banning? Where's Banning? We say, oh, it's right next door to Palm Springs. Then they get an idea where it was. I received this plaque from Mabel after she insisted on hanging it right away on my kitchen wall. It says, I'm smiling because you are my sister, and laughing because there's nothing you can do about it. Sun Lakes is settled between the majestic San Gorgonio Mountains and the San Jacinto Mountain. The scenic view is always gorgeous, and the sunsets are so inspiring, beautiful. There's so many amenities offered in living there. We joined the Women's Golf Club, and Mabel played in the 9-holers. She made me laugh one day when she said she couldn't remember whether she had 15 or 16 shots on one hole. I told her, being that she was not in contention for a tournament, it really didn't matter. But she said she wrote down 16 just in case someone would question her. Little boy Brandy, could you get my glasses out? I think I could read better. This handwriting that somebody wrote is difficult to read. I can read it, but you know, I need a little help. Okay. She was always clever, as you heard, with dexterity in her hands. She joined the arts and crafts class and made beautiful mock dolls and intricately ribboned baskets, cleverly painted sweatshirts, and many beautifully crocheted and knitted scarves. She was the cookie lady in our group, and there were always lucky recipients of her haystacks and pecan crisps. Then she learned how to make nylon scrubbers. So many were lucky to receive them. Through the years, she was accident prone, falling in gravel, breaking her leg, bitten by a brown spider, suffering much pain. She even flew off of a golf cart and suffered terrible bruising. Her greatest pleasure was gambling at the many Indian casinos nearby. She was surprisingly lucky, and in my presence hit 3 royal flushes. Unbelievable. I have yet to hit 1. She was truly blessed with card luck. She made friends with so many, and everyone would tell me what a sweet lady she was. She loved to drive and was an excellent driver, to the point of almost being a speed demon. She received a speeding ticket driving through the glorious scenic area of Mammoth. The officer said he chased her for 15 miles and finally was able to stop her by driving parallel to her car. We didn't hear a siren, for we were mesmerized by the scenery and the lovely soundtrack of Glenn Miller. The officer was very perturbed, almost apoplectic, but settled down after lecturing Mabel, then said he had great Japanese friends in Gardena. Unfortunately, he had written up the ticket, and it was a costly lesson learned. In the meantime, Mabel's glaucoma was getting progressively worse. I drove her to so many ophthalmologists, recommended highly by her many friends. I found myself driving her to Palm Springs, Ontario, Corona, Loma Linda, Westwood, and even all the way to Santa Monica, which included 6 laser treatments. Nothing seemed to help better her vision. Last page, aren't you glad? Her daughter, Sue, felt it was time for a change in her living quarters. She ended back in a beautiful assisted living facility in Santa Monica. I still have this plaque on my kitchen wall, and will always be glad that she was my sister, and glad there's nothing I can do about it, for sure. Thank you. That's my son, Randy, Mabel's grandson. I'm only 94.
Well, thank you so much, Helen, and also Pam and Paulette. I think you really brought the spirit of Mabel back to our presence here today. Let's see, at this time, we'd like to invite anyone else who would like to share a remembrance about Mabel to come to the front and use the mic there on the floor. So is there anyone who would like to say something?
I'm Jessica Shikami, for those that I haven't met yet. I'm kind of here representing the Midwest Chicago Shikamis. So I'm really glad to be here. I've been living out in LA for a year now, so I've been enjoying it a lot. But I unfortunately didn't really know Mabel myself, but from what I've heard about her from my family, my grandparents, and my mom, I really wish that I did get to know her. I have a little something here that my grandpa, Jim Shikami, wrote about his sister, so I'm going to read that. And my mom also, Nick Shikami, she got to know Mabel well when she was living out here for a year, going to school, and she would always tell me about how she loved to go see Mabel and talk to her, and she was kind of a good friend for my mom when she was out here. So I'm going to read something that my grandpa Jim wrote about Mabel. I will always remember Mabel calling me Jimmy. Mabel looked upon me as a baby brother who always remained the baby brother. I remember one day when she visited our house in Glenview that she looked at my garden. She was amazed that our little Jimmy could grow a garden with flower beds and even space for Japanese cucumbers, nasubi, and beans. I think I must have been in my 60s at that time when she spoke in amazement at my gardening expertise. Mabel, being the firstborn, took it upon herself to look after us in a kind and loving way. She was the steady person who never had bad words for any of us younger children. I remember we would always wait for Friday to come around because it was Mabel's time to cook dinner. In those days, since Mom and Dad were always busy taking care of nursery business, the girls were assigned days to cook. Mabel knew how to cook and made a variety of delicious dishes to please us. She also had a starving audience at the dinner table, waiting for dinner to arrive. Throughout her life, she was very interested in knowing about Lois, Jim's wife, and in the lives of the children, Alan, Kevin, Russell, and Kim. The children only got to be with Mabel one particular vacation in Santa Monica, but it was a memorable one filled with Auntie Mabel's typically warm hospitality and fun. Mabel, you will always have a special place in my heart. With affection, I'll treasure the memory of you calling me Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Andrea Nakasawa, and I'm married to Mabel's nephew, Roger. When I first met Mabel was during my wedding with Roger in 1976, and I'm alone in the LA area, no immediate family. And during my wedding preparation, my head is in the clouds. I'm so nervous, and I don't know what to do. But Mabel prepared and my insecure rooting here in Los Angeles that I will never forget. Thank you, Mabel. I mean, unrelated.
I'm Joe Shikami. I'm the second son. And as you probably know, we had a big family. Mabel was the oldest sister. And when I think back of what we did in those days, my parents had a florist at 26th and Santa Monica Boulevard. And my dad had a pickup truck, and Mabel wanted to learn how to drive. And in those days, you drove with a stick shift. You know, the gear shift was on the floor, and you used the clutch. And when people were trying to learn how to drive in those days, it was horrendous. I think we all went through that. Those people who learned how to drive a stick shift. Well, Mabel wanted to learn how to drive. And my dad said, all right, he'll teach her. She got in the front seat. And my dad next to her on the right. And there was Reggie, Jimmy, and I think Helen, and I think maybe Florence. Anyway, we all piled in the back. And my dad said, well, we have to go on a deserted street. And I think we went to Colorado or Broadway and Santa Monica. And we got out. We were able to shift over on the left. And you know, Mabel's a very tiny girl. So she had to put both behind her. And my dad said, okay, step on the clutch, shift the gears, let out the clutch slowly, and slip on the accelerator. Move it slowly, the car will begin to move. And we're all standing in the back, you know. And so we started to move it, we started bouncing up and down, the car conked out. And we all laughed, and you know, I was thinking, hey, this is the best thing since the roller coaster came. Exciting. But anyway, we started moving again, and we were bouncing up and down. And we were just laughing and laughing. So after a few more tries, my dad said, well, that's enough for today. We went back. And I don't think Mabel ever really caught on to how to work the clutch and the gear shift until she met Paul, her first husband. And Paul, I think, knew the knack of how to teach a girl how to drive a stick shift. Because before long, Mabel was actually driving, you know, really well. That's one of the things I remember about Mabel. I think at that time I was possibly 5 or 6 years old. When we started bouncing up and down, oh, you had to hang on. I think I was hanging on the telephone. She was a tomboy, and she used to do all those crazy things. But another thing that I remember about Mabel, during after the florist, my dad and mother had a nursery at 17th Nursery. And the business was doing quite well. And before long, the IRS came and said they would like to review the books. If they didn't feel that the proper income